Hello. Ooh, get loosened up. Ready for another video. I wanted to make a video kind of dedicated to someone that I've been corresponding with about skin tones and stuff like that. And he's at a place where I think he's opened that door into color theory and he's looked inside, and it scrambled his brain a little bit. Not saying anything bad about the guy, but and I give him advice, and he's like, that just bounced off me, because when I talk color theory and values and things like that, for someone that maybe hasn't had hasn't studied a lot on that stuff. He's like what I like to call in the art world a savant. He can sit down with his pencils and he can do stuff, but it just comes natural, which is awesome. I was like that up until I think 7th grade. I could sit down and anything I could see, I could draw. I was just always able to do that. It didn't look good until I had a teacher. I took my first drawing class in 7th grade, and there was a teacher there, Miss Sullivan, and she explained how values work. And once I learned that, it was off to the races. It's like, oh, I get it now. Yeah, I was doing some shading in the background, and I was darkening some stuff up, but I wasn't going in and just like making it nice and dark in the darks and the lights. There's like a word for that. I don't, chiaroscuro or something like that. I don't know exactly what it's called. I still don't have like a formal art education or anything. Everything I do is pretty much self-taught, other than I took a couple drawing classes, and that's it. But never anything in color. So all the color stuff that I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about what a formal education would teach you. I'm showing you some ways to cut corners and stuff. But anyway, this picture here, Dan's been working on this picture. He's probably already finished his, but I wanted to go back. I was trying to explain it to him in text and stuff, but it's kind of hard to do. I don't like sitting there doing all that. And but anyway, I wanted to go over some things, because I was telling him, yeah, you need to push your values. And he's like, yeah, that just, I don't understand. He's having a time with it. So I thought I would explain. We've already made the step where we can come in and we take our orange pencils, and I'm using more of a red orange, a little bit of red added in there, coming in and just hitting these real light, and that's going to get you to your skin tone, right? We've gone over this in other videos on how that's going to happen. So I'm just going to show you, here, just go along and buzz through there and get that basic skin tone going. And so then we step to here. We've got that done, right? So we got a basic setup here going. So now we need to look at our light source and things like that, and see where it's coming from. But let's say our light is coming, let's say from this direction here, right? It's going to hit here really bright. It's hitting there. But don't think of it in 2D, like your light's coming in this way. If you want your image to look like three-dimensional, because I sent him this picture here, showed him, I was trying to teach him by using this right here. And he's like, oh, that looks like a photograph. It's basically, I'm not looking at it like lights coming in this way, I'm picking up, I'm looking at it from three-dimensional. Now that light's coming in from this kind of an angle. Oh, well, it hits here, so it can't be over there. So the way that light works, and the way I think about it when I'm doing a picture like this right here is, if the light is hitting here really good, then it's not going to hit over here, So the way that we see things is that light hits an object, right? And whatever color that object is reflects that color. And that color bounces back to your eyes, and then your brain sees it as that. what it is, you know. So when that light's hitting, let's say here, it's not hitting under here. So this needs to be dark, and they're representing that in the grayscale. This is all about grayscale. So it's being represented, but it's just giving you, it's just saying, yeah, maybe here there's going to be some darkness here. But if you go in and start pushing some of these areas, see how bright this is? Well, it doesn't need to be. So I've gone in and grayed all this up with those grays because the light's really hitting there, you know, coming in right here. It is hitting here, but it's not reflecting back as much as it is way up here where the source is coming from. So you're going to get these lights here, 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 here. And that's without any of that black or brown or whatever added to it. But then the light over here is going to be a little bit darker, you know. And this, I think, is part of his tattoo situation up here. So, I mean, there's things that are in pictures sometimes I call anomalies. It's like, I know that's something, but I don't know what it is. I guess it's a tattoo, I'd have to assume. So basically we're just going in and finding these, and it's not like you're going to say, okay, I'm gonna go here and just darken all that out. It's a slower process than that. It's going in, I think I'm gonna use a sepia right here. It's going in and giving it some love, just a little bit, you know. Okay, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna give that some love across there. Now when I do that, and I give it a little love right here, you're taking the chroma, the color of this that you have in there, and you're knocking it down, right? So you get your hue, which is your color, onto there, right? And then what you're going to want to do is come back and readjust that chroma, bring the color back into it. And this is a good, see now we're letting some more of that color reflect back to our eyes. See how that changed it right there? And base this off of everything else. Now we're starting to get correct values. If your values aren't correct, everything falls apart, okay? So I'm really trying to push this as far as learning a little bit of color theory, because I think it goes a long way. Now we'll pull this down. Now as I drag this down into these darker areas, it does desaturate this color, right? So see back here, so I can press a little bit harder, right? And bring this up. And we're just messing with orange because we know that we're going to desaturate it, right? So then I can come back here and say, okay, well that light's coming in, it's hitting really good there, so let's don't have this so bright back here. It doesn't need to be. So we'll darken that up back there, right? Darken that little area up. And don't be scared, you know, just get in there and push it. Because when you're doing that, you're desaturating that color, you're mixing, you're heading to the brown. You know, you're taking that orange, as you add black to orange, you push it to browns. So you're gonna get like the yellow ochres on yellow and things like that. Or you're gonna get that raw sienna. Let me see, I'm just reading off of this list here over the orange. Raw sienna, transparent, gold, orange, things like that. These browns up in here is what you're gonna get. So, and I'll put a link to that color wheel right there. So, and it's on my last video, the link to that. So now I can come in, I've added I've brought the chroma back up, but then I can come in and readjust it a little more. So I'm gonna take this a little further away, you know. I'm gonna really put some good shadows in there. And I'll bring this up now, or take the chroma down a little bit here. Now we still got our color, now we got that brown color in there. So you can come back and readjust it a little bit more. Give it a little love right there. And then we'll just come working our way out of there. See that bright area? I really don't need it that bright. If I want to represent it as really bright, then I'll just pick that chroma up like that. Like that. Now you may want to come back and desaturate it. If it goes too orange, you can come in and just push it back a little bit with some white. Push that back to that skin tone. Maybe come back over it a little bit here. Doesn't need to be that bright. So just give it a little love. And so I'm gonna start, like these little divots and stuff in his skin, I'm just gonna start highlighting those back in those darker areas, darker. Keep that detail going with the image. So now I've got these right here. I know this is red. So now I'm just going to start darkening and darkening and darkening, and getting down into those values. So values are lights and darks. Where does the light belong? Where does the dark belong? If the light belongs up here, then it doesn't belong down here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push that eye up into his head. Basically, I don't want it sticking out like that. So how do I do that? Well, I'm just going to use values. I'm going to push it back by darkening it. Not enough light is hitting this area to reflect back to your eye. So you're not going to see it so brightly. It's going to be pushed back a little bit, you know. And we're just going to keep pushing. Lighten up over these areas that you know you want light, but give it a little. It's not going to hurt to give it just that touch, because I'm like a feather, you know. I'm just like, I'm drawing with or coloring with a feather here. And I'm just barely hitting this, and I'm bringing it up slowly, bringing this up. So now I've come in, I've desaturated this color, so I can come in and give it a little bit extra, you know. And I'm building up layers and layers and layers into the image. Now some of the things like this scar, this open wound that he has right here, I'll go in with like a cyan or a blue or something like that. And I'll kind of cool that off and make it more bruisey looking, maybe even some purples and some reds, you know. So I'll come in and cool that off a little bit. He's got a wound there. So we'll add a little bit of that blue in there. And that's getting a little bit more advanced because that blue is the opposite of actually red, but orange this has got a lot of red in it, so they kind of do the same thing. So I'm just going to start slowly bringing this up. Now I'm going to start adding in maybe some whites into here and desaturate some of this color. It's not going to reach your eye like that. But don't forget this pencil should be coming back and forth into your hand and retouch some of these details. And just push and push and push. And don't worry about if you push it too far. You can always go back and bring it up some. So now we've got that eye just about where we want it. Maybe a little darker. You know, we're thinking of shapes here. This is back, up, you know, coming up and going back. Well, up and across. Up from back there, so dark to light. And then just kind of skim over that area right there. Same here. I'm going to give that line a little love right there. So I know, you know, this is a very involved, but slowly you'll build up, you know, putting things where they belong. Now that eyeball, let's give him a little blue here. Doesn't matter what blue. I'm just going to skim over it here. Just give him a little something there, right? And then I'm going to take this sepia or black. Which one do I have now? Sepia. I'll use black. And I'm going to take that black, sharpened up. Make sure you're sharpening. This is why I only use pencils that I can replace easily instead of sets of like color and all them, or the Castle Arts. I don't use those because I can't replace them. Not that they're bad pencils or anything. It's just I can't afford to keep buying large sets. So I'm going to push a little bit darker. But I'm just using a feather touch. You can barely see it, you know. Just using that feather touch in those areas. Because you can feather touch it a bunch of times and eventually get it up. See how all that color I put underneath that eye has disappeared. It's completely. Now I can put a little bit more color in there. Bring that chroma back up a little bit. So you're readjusting chroma after you get into your values. There we go. Readjust that out. And slowly as you go, now I'm just using this one color. There's more colors to be had here, let's say. Let's go along this nose here. See, it doesn't even look like I put anything on this nose earlier. Let me readjust the chroma, bring that color up. I'm trying to miss some of these little these little high points there. It's not a big deal at this stage because you see how the chroma is diving down as you put something next to it that's brighter. I'm at darker. So now I'm going to go in and start working on this nose. I know there's some divots there that I want to highlight. So let me go ahead and touch those right there. And we'll add a few more, okay? That don't matter. So now I'm going to come in, I'm going to think, okay, this is a real dark area. And I'm going to think of this as a circle here. And I'm just going to kind of play around that circle a little bit. And then here, up, slow, and then light. Get these connect, bring them together. There we go. So we're working with value. Desaturated it, so let's go back. Put a little bit more of that color in there. And what we're doing is we're kind of mixing that color into that brown. We're pushing that yellow up into those browns right there. So touch, and if you need to, you can come by and give it a little love with white. I usually hold out on my white pencil until the end, you know, and that's when I come in and play with that white pencil. But now we can readjust the value a little bit better than we just did. So we'll darken up this area right here, and then we'll bring it up again. And we're going to get right up into next to that light area where it is. Start picking it up. Now you notice that color disappeared, right? That orange I just put in there, it disappeared. So come back, give it a little love, and pick that chroma up a little bit. There we go. So we add a little bit more. And then what we're doing is we're pushing it also to that brown color. We're not necessarily making orange here. We're making it brown. And that's off. It's off up here. See, the circle is black. See how this circle is black here? So as we're working with this orange, and we're pushing into these right here, and as we push with black more, we move over here. And I think I've explained this on the other videos. Now we're getting into these colors, which are not orange technically anymore. They're more of what we call a brown hue. So I'm trying to get to that. So I'm just gonna start moving through. And as you work, you'll notice that your color disappears. Well, that's the trick, is to keep your chroma where it needs to be. How much of the actual color is coming to you. So we'll go in and start darkening up some more stuff here. And see that blue we put in there helped cool off that one area, so it kind of set it up. Let me do all this right here. Now I can darken this up. That light's coming in, hitting this brow, and it's not getting down. Matter of fact, I probably want to go ahead and help this brow look like something more. So I'm going to put a little line right there, and I'm going to slowly shade it from there up, back, away from the light, away. I'm going to push that back. Oops. Don't worry about little mistakes like that. Alright, and go ahead and touch these little divots that he has. Keep those alive. I'm just going to slowly, because it doesn't all need to be, we need to get that skin tone over to that, into that brown, over into that other medium chroma. So there, we did that. So come back, give it a little love. There, so now we push that into, see, it's not black anymore. It's moved it to that brown or, darker color. And you can see some points where the chroma is too high in some areas. That's okay. That just means that you need to push that back a little bit. So now we're going to start over here in this really dark area. It's got another wound right there. So let me push it a little more. It's going to get to the point where you can kind of bring this over that orange up in the light area. See how light I'm going? We're just going to push this cheek up higher because we're not into that cheek too much. And as we do that, we're going to adjust our chroma a little bit. We're going to come in and say, okay, well, I don't want you to be black, and so I want to push you to that medium chroma. There. So a little bit too much here. That shouldn't have been as white as I made it. So you're constantly changing, coming to catch these little divots here in his face, little potholes, little spots. See how we're hugging right up against that lighter area. And as we're going, we're just doing this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you'll just move over the whole picture, right? And then you'll get to something like this where all your chroma is too high in some areas and all that. So you want to go in and start readjusting those areas. And I've already put in some blood and stuff. And I use some red throughout. And how I use red is I take my red pencil, and you know it's going to be kind of pink if you lightly go over something, right? You think, well, why don't you just use pink? Because when you use pink, it's going to be so light. In order to get to that pink color from that light color that you're going to use to build it up, you're taking up the tooth of the paper. This can go pink right away with a light coating that's not going to take up the tooth of the paper, right? So it's a little different when you're working with colored pencil versus paints and stuff like that. Because now we're going to go in and start adding in the blood, and I'll hug the darker areas with this. Kind of get right in there. Maybe even glaze this whole cheek over, you know. Start adding some life to the guy. Just simply glazing in a little red over all that, picking up a little different hue, pushing closer to what it should be, I think. And we'll push some through here. Now, all this really doesn't matter as far as what you're doing with the coloring and stuff like that. It's getting the values correct. We're going in and working, pushing stuff where it needs to be, and pulling things out with lighter. So always remember that blues, if you're taking a blues and cool colors on the color wheel, if you're just using the normal color wheel, let's say. So we're looking at blue. Well, these are all the cool colors here, all the way around to right there. So those are your cool colors. These are warm. These colors help you with your values because they push things back. These right here help you with your values because they pull things closer to you. So think about that, you know, when you got these blues and you want to push this eye a little bit further back, especially over the orange, it really works out because they're opposite of the color wheel. So I just want to kind of push this back, cool it off. And that's going to help out with your values a little bit by pushing that under, but not here because, well, you can do it like right there if you want that to recede down, but not on that brightest area right there. So we're just pushing some blues out there. You may think, oh, that because I don't even see anything going on. There's something going on, trust me. I'm pushing. It's pushing things back. So see, but basically that's basically what I wanted to go through on the values and pushing your things further back from that light orange right there. And you push it back and you get that brown, maybe stick a little red in there, and then you keep going and you push it further and further and further back, and it'll start looking better. But just wanted to give you a heads up on that right there. Thanks for watching, buddy.